Borrowed heartbeats. Jamal Carter woke up before the sun, the way he always did, ready to prepare breakfast for his 8-year-old daughter, Zuri. But that morning, as he stepped into the living room, he froze. Sitting on his couch, wrapped in his oversized black t-shirt, was a woman he had never seen before. Her hair tousled, eyes blinking in confusion, barefoot, and looking completely out of place. She whispered, Where am I?" As if the world had spun too fast for her to keep up. Jamal's first instinct was to protect his home and his daughter, but the woman didn't look dangerous, more like someone who had run from something. The fear in her eyes was real. "You're safe," he said carefully, "but you need to tell me how you got inside my house." She looked down at the shirt she wore, then back at him with trembling lips. "I don't remember anything." Her name, she eventually recalled, was Ivanna Hale, CEO of Hale Corp, one of the most powerful tech companies in the city. But even that seemed fragmented in her mind, like someone else had whispered it to her. Jamal, skeptical yet concerned, offered her water as she struggled to piece together her memories. All she could grasp was that she had been at a corporate event the night before, then nothing. Jamal took a slow breath, watching Zuri peek from behind the hallway. His daughter, bold and curious, asked, "Daddy, is she your friend?" Ivanna's eyes softened as she looked at the child, and for a moment her panic eased. "I hope I didn't scare you," she murmured. Zuri grinned. "You look like a princess who forgot her castle." Ivanna almost laughed, even in confusion. The child's warmth touched her. As the morning continued, Ivanna tried harder to recall the night before. Flashes of bright camera lights, loud voices, and a man gripping her arm too tightly made her wince. She couldn't make out his face, but she remembered fear, a desperate attempt to run, and then cold rain. Jamal listened carefully, starting to suspect she might have been running from someone. The police were a logical option, but Ivanna panicked at the suggestion, shaking her head violently. No police. He'll find me." Jamal didn't know who he was, but the terror in her voice convinced him she wasn't simply overreacting. For reasons he couldn't explain, he felt responsible for keeping her safe, at least until she could stand on her own. Ivanna spent the rest of the day resting in Jamal's apartment. She watched the way he moved, gentle yet strong, always checking on his daughter, cooking, cleaning, organizing. There was a rhythm to his life, simple but filled with sincerity. It was unlike anything in her world of boardrooms, multi-million-dollar contracts, and cutthroat competition. Zuri quickly took a liking to Ivanna, dragging her into board games and asking about her castle, office. Ivanna felt something warm in her chest, something she hadn't felt in years. Belonging. In her penthouse, she was feared. Here, she was simply wanted. That night, as Jamal prepared dinner, Ivanna stepped out to answer a phone call. The moment she saw the caller ID Adrian Wolf, her company's Q, her hands shook. Adrian wasn't just her second in command. He had been obsessed with her for years, hiding it behind professionalism until recently, when he began crossing boundaries she couldn't ignore. His voice on the line was chillingly calm. "Where are you? Do you have any idea how worried I've been?" She hung up immediately, heart racing. Returning inside, she tried to mask her fear. But Jamal noticed her trembling. "You're in danger," he said quietly. "Whoever you're running from isn't done." Jamal wasn't a man with wealth or power, but he was a man with courage. That night, after Zuri slept, he sat across from Ivanna as she finally told the truth. Adrian had tried to force himself on her after the corporate gala. She escaped, but in the chaos and shock, she must have wandered far until she collapsed near Jamal's building. Someone, maybe divine guidance, Jamal mused, had pushed her toward safety. Hearing the story ignited something fierce in Jamal. He couldn't let this woman go back into the jaws of a predator, not when she had found refuge under his roof. Ivanna felt seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. The next morning, the city was buzzing. Hale Corp's CEO missing. Adrian held a press conference acting like a grieving friend, appealing for Ivanna's safe return. Behind his performance, though, was rage. Jamal could see it through the television. "He's not worried about you," Jamal said. "He's worried about losing control." Ivanna clenched her fists. "He'll come for me." Jamal nodded. "Then we'll be ready." But inside, he wondered how a single dad with a modest income could go up against a man with wealth, connections, and a dangerous obsession. Jamal temporarily moved Ivanna to the small room beside his own, usually reserved for storage. He tidied it, added a clean blanket, and fixed the broken lamp. Ivanna watched him silently, touched beyond words. No one had done something this thoughtful for her since childhood. Her world was built on power, not kindness. Nights became softer. They shared quiet conversations, laughter over Zuri's antics, and stolen moments where their eyes held longer than necessary. Something unspoken began blooming between them, something fragile but real. One evening, Ivanna joined Jamal on the balcony. The city lights reflected in her eyes, but she wasn't looking at the skyline, she was looking at him. "Jamal, why are you helping me?" He exhaled slowly, leaning against the railing. "Because no one deserves to face fear alone. And because I care." Her breath hitched. She wasn't used to tenderness without motive. The closeness between them became magnetic, an unspoken connection neither dared to break, but it wrapped around them all the same. Unable to locate her, Adrian began digging. He bribed, threatened, hacked and manipulated. When he finally discovered security footage showing Ivanna stumbling into Jamal's neighborhood, he exploded with fury. "A nobody?" he snarled. "She's with a nobody?" Soon, Jamal noticed suspicious cars near his street, parked too long, watching too closely. Danger was tightening its grip. He knew the storm was coming. The question was when it would strike. The attack came at midnight. Jamal woke to the sound of breaking glass, a rock thrown through his window, followed by footsteps outside. Ivanna clutched his arm, terror freezing her. Jamal quickly moved Zuri to the back room and stood guard with the only weapon he had, a metal flashlight. Adrian's men didn't break in, but their message was clear. "Come home, Ivanna," a voice shouted from the street. "Or next time, we won't be so patient." Jamal's jaw tightened. This was no longer just Ivanna's battle, it was his family's. Ivanna realized running wouldn't save her. She needed to confront Adrian and reclaim her life. With Jamal's encouragement, she contacted her trusted board members, revealing everything Adrian had been doing. The harassment, the coercion, the threats. They were stunned but supportive. They needed proof. Jamal had an idea. He helped Ivanna set a trap, recording Adrian's threatening calls and messages. For the first time since the nightmare began, Ivanna felt her power returning. Adrian fell into their trap easily. His obsession clouded his judgment, and soon Ivanna had everything she needed: audio, screenshots, and witness statements from other women he had harassed. When she presented the evidence to Hale Corp's board, Adrian lost control, screaming that she belonged to him. His mask shattered in front of everyone. Security dragged him out, and Ivanna officially filed charges. Justice was finally catching up, and Adrian realized too late that he had underestimated the woman he tried to control. After Adrian's arrest, Ivanna returned to Jamal's apartment not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She knelt beside Zuri, hugging her tightly. "Thank you for being my little light," she whispered. Zuri giggled. "I told you were a princess." That evening, Ivanna and Jamal finally allowed themselves to acknowledge what had been growing between them. Under the soft glow of the living room lamp, she took his hand. I didn't just find safety here, she said. I found home. Jamal smiled, brushing a thumb across her cheek. Then stay. Months later, their lives blended like they were always meant to be. Ivanna balanced boardrooms and bedtime stories. Jamal balanced fatherhood with being her quiet strength, her grounding force. The world saw ACEO rebuilt. Jamal and Zuri saw a woman who finally learned to love freely. On a bright morning, Ivanna woke in Jamal's shirt again, this time smiling, this time wrapped in his arms. Feels right, she whispered. Jamal kissed her forehead. Because this time, he said softly, you woke up where you belong.